Your credit score is a magic number that opens doors for you, so it's really important to work on developing a solid credit score. So let's talk about four important things to know about credit scores in the first place. So the first thing is that a credit score, think about it as a report card of your financial habits, your financial behaviors, things like this. So basically what it is it's a number that ranges from 300 to 850, 850 being the high end, 300 being the low end. And it is a very quick snapshot that helps lenders know if they should help you get loans. It gives landlords an idea of if they should rent to you. It determines what kind of interest rates you get on all of your loans across the board, whether that's car loans, mortgages, all kinds of loans, even credit card interest rates and APRs. So it's really in your best interest to get your credit score as high as possible, as close to 850 as possible. So let's look at what goes into a credit score. So the second thing to know is what exactly goes into that three-digit number. So I'm going to put a little chart up on screen here that I made so you can get a quick snapshot of how this works. So your credit score is calculated using several factors, including your payment history, which makes up 35%, as you can see here. And that is your track record of making payments on time for things like your credit card bills, your loans, and other accounts. The second component is the amount owed. That makes up 30% of your credit score, and that's the total amount of debt you owe compared to your credit limits and your credit utilization ratio. The third thing that goes into your credit score is the length of credit history. This is 15% of your credit score. Now, of course, this is something that if you're just getting started out, don't worry about not having had credit cards in your name for very long. It's okay because this is something you obviously build over time as you use credit responsibly. And that obviously shows the duration of your credit accounts and the average age of your credit accounts, which is why it's really important to never close old credit cards. If you have credit cards that you're not using, make sure they're all paid off, keep them somewhere secure, but don't close those accounts because you want as many different things on your track record as possible to make up this 15%. And then the last thing is new credit, which is 10% of your credit score, as you can see here. And that is things like recent applications for new credit and recent credit inquiries. So that's the pie. Those are all the pieces of the pie that makes up your credit score. And that is the really important thing to know because there's a lot of different things that go into building a good credit score. But it's, as you can see, it's all pretty manageable things. Some of it is determined by how long you've been using credit. And then, of course, some of it is determined by how responsible you are with the credit that you have, with the loans that you've taken out, how good you are at paying your bills on time and keeping on top of all that, and also not carrying too much debt at any one time. You really want to avoid that. The third thing to know about your credit score is that it's a range. So I'll put a little kind of dashboard up here on screen for you to look at. So we talked a minute ago about that it's a number between 300 and 850. So here's the little dashboard for you. So 300 to 579 is considered poor. 580 to 669 is considered a fair credit score. 740 to 799 is considered a very good credit score, and then 800 to 850 is considered an excellent credit score. And so if you're in a point where you're down on the low end of the spectrum here and you want to come up and around to closer to that 850 number, just know that it's something that you work on over time as you progress through your financial life, as you use credit through your adult life. So it's okay if you're starting out and your credit score is poor and you just want to improve it because it's actually one of the faster things to improve. I went through a situation about 10 years ago where I had a big life event and my credit score got pretty much reset back to that poor level. And so I just remember picking up a book from the library. I think it was the, Dummy's Guide to Credit Repair or Dummy's Guide to Credit Score, something like this. But it's really pretty straightforward to be able to take action steps to repair your credit score. And I've got a whole playlist about this that I'll link to in the description as well. if you're interested in more practical ways to get out of the red and into the green, because that just opens so many doors for you. As the closer you get to that magic number of 850, the more doors are going to be open to you when you need to take out loans, when you're applying for a new apartment, all kinds of things. It's just really, even potential employers sometimes look at your credit score. And so it's a really, really good metric to work on improving as almost part of your personal brand, if you want to think about it that way. You're kind of, if you're into leveling up your life, think about it as a way to level up your personal brand. The third thing to know about your credit score is really to ask the question, well, why is your credit score important? And we've touched on this a couple of times throughout this video, but the main things that it impacts throughout your financial life are your loan approval, like we talked about. Higher scores make it easier to get approved for loans and credit cards. It helps with your interest rates if your credit score is higher, because you can qualify for the best interest rates that are going to make taking out loans the most in your favor possible with those interest rates. It helps with credit limits. If you have better scores, you can get higher credit limits on your credit cards. And then it also helps with things like rental applications, like we talked about. Landlords routinely run people's credit scores to be able to kind of screen people and get a ballpark figure of how responsible they are with their money. It's not obviously the only metric out there, but it's a very important one. And then finally, it also is important with insurance premiums, because insurance companies will also run this as well. So there's just many, many different reasons why it's important to really work on developing a solid credit score. And then the fourth and final thing to know about your credit score is how to check it. So you may be wondering at this point, well, I don't even know what my credit score is. I've never checked it before. Where do I go? So I'll link in the description to my 3 main favorite places that I like to check my credit score. They're the 3 credit bureaus. It's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are the main credit bureaus. My favorite is personally Experian, because I use it a lot. I have their credit protection membership that watches out for credit fraud, which is really helpful. It's like $25 or $26 a month, and I've had that for years. It's something you can sign up for through their website. And then even if you don't have a membership, you can check your credit score, you can check your credit history and be able to just really look at that. So great resources there. There's also other credit monitoring services as well, and then financial institutions. So even your bank or lending companies might have a way to check it. But the easiest thing is to just go to one of those 3 credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and just go check and see, set up an account, and then you'll be able to see exactly what your credit score is. And it's also helpful to pull a full credit report once a year, which you can do for free on those sites now as well. And that way you can just pull your credit report and see everything that's on it, make sure there's no errors or no fraudulent charges, for example. And that's a really good thing to keep track of. So those are the 4 key things to know about your credit score. And thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon in my next video.